So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and the panels. I'm Wegy. Today, I would like to bring you to visit the projects that I went through the whole semester. So, the first one is the design by researching. The mainly emphasis of this assignment is for us to understand more about Salak South. So, we has been assigned to trace three types of textures. As what I got is rebar, concrete, and also ash, which I get from the acceleration vest. So this is the ash textures and also the burnt watermarks textures to represent the unseen communication within the Buddhism. Burn the joy paper and sends the good to the heaven. So I combined the ash and tried to laminate it to record the layerings and create a kind of new facade. Hopefully it can be applied to my further projects. So when it comes to urban strategies, there's an issue of lacking of young generation and the increasement of the elderlies. So based on the issue, how I enhance is I propose a art box which is located at the end of the sites on top of the hills. So when it comes to Project 2, the main emphasis of the task is to strategize the whole Salak South New Village. With a few times of visiting to the sites, I have noticed that there's a quite serious issue on the site, which is the site was actually surrounded by the crowded area such as Kuchai Lama and also Sri Petaling, but the Salak South seems like an almost forgotten place by the peoples. So I feel like it's lack of awareness from the locals. So I came up with an idea which is to propose an art box located at almost the end of the sites. So the strategy behind it is because eventually people who took KTM or even the highway towards Mid Valley, they doesn't realize that there is a place which located hiddenly just beside the railway. So with an art box that which located on top of the hill, people will start passing by the place and notice there's a program which located at the hills, and also they will increase the density of the people on the site. And also one of the reason why I choose the site is because there's an existing Petronas station which located nearby the proposed site, so people who took the highway can actually drop by easily. Somehow the car won't disturb the quietness of the new village. So here is the montages of how the link bridge connect to the petrol station. But then the diagram that I study, the strategy is not only affect to the site. In the same time, it actually have a potential to bring in the people from the surrounded to visit to the site, since there is no art box around the area. So there's the montages of the proposed art box on the site, the perspective montage of the art box. So the second strategy is actually propose a historical walk which visit the first to latest generation house. So people might boost up the memories of the site. So there's a montages to show the elderly is accepting the young generation to their place, and also the elderly are trying to go accept the outside world. So for building intervention, I have started to explore the form and the site for the building strategy. So I came up with an idea which linked the art box from my project 2. So this is the image to show how the building has extended from the art box. So a new program will be provided, which is the exhibition space and also the walking space for the elderly or locals to exhibit their artworks. So there's some montages on how the building sit on top of the site. Also the montages of how the internal connections of the site. So comes to my project 3. There is the issue to be focused on, which is the increasement of the elderly. Somehow because of the stricken social circles. The elderly would rather stay home than going out, so there will be a risk for them to get injured with no one's around. So my design intention is to create a leisure place to target those solitude elderly and try to bring them to re-enter the society. The design objective is to improve the elderly's qualities of life and also transform the elderly's into a value-based knowledge society. But the main objective, of course, is to create a platform which to connect and reconnect between the missing link between the peoples, and also create a recreation space for the locals. So this one is the montages on how the exterior looks like. So next, the site itself is located at the pond area with approximately 3.5 acres boundary. So after the self-studies of the analysis, I realized that there is a strong connection. So massing volume will be built as elevated. The arrangement of the massing is following the existing site flow. So the proposal approximately like 3.5 acres land will be used for construct. So study about the connection. I take advantage from the existing pond and green area to create a very straightforward connection, and the building has act as an activity spine around the sites. The initial idea of the project is to create a quiet space and also a learning space for the elderlies. So when it comes to site plan, connection between the green space and the green space is covering the selected site and give a sense of hidden oasis views. So the development, so I started from discovering the possibility of the entrance to the site and also the space that can be used to build up. So the next step is I study an experience of the circulation on site and mark down the existing trees for future design info. The third part is I rearrange the shape and try to find the best way for build up the base on self-analysis of the place and trying to avoid the trees, and demolish the trees. So the massing volume, the building is actually, the initial idea is to make it elevated. So when it comes to the building intention, I felt like I want to create an open concept, but I know there's one much people which appreciate this kind of concept because this kind of building has not stand out. But even the material is the most basic concretes, glass and also timber. But there is the memories of mine when I was staying at the village. What village feeling have gave me is the life is in village. There's no conceal because this place belongs to the people who really intimate of us. So I hope my building can be merged with the nature that with I propose a few modular vertical farming framework to act as a trees, which visually gave you the feels that parts of the building is created by peoples and parts of the building is created or following the existing natures. So why I use concrete like grey wall, people might thought this kind of color is very standards. But for me, my foresight is after rain times, a few times of rain and time pass, the wall or screen of the wall grows with moss. So this building will definitely very suitable to located at the place. So comes to lower ground floor. Basically my lower ground floor is mainly open concept. There's a lower ground floor act as a activity areas, especially I provided an outdoor class. So the isometric view of my first floor plan, basically the first floor plan is more focused on the vertical modular farming structures. So these are the modular vertical structures look like. It's acting like a trees. Surprisingly, the outlook is also inspired by the trees. The structure allowed people to go in and plant for their vegetations. And the modular farming structure has been placed in each of the corner of the plant in the sense to blur out the periphery of the edge. Also, visually it makes the whole building felt like the building is hidden inside the trees, or else the building is part of the natures. So come to my second floor isometric view. The focal point will be at the hostel, which is the private areas. So there will be an elevated common space in between the hostels, and also there's a montages of elevated small gardens which link with the common elevated space, which allowed the elderly to planting nearby. So section AA basically is showing the levelings and also the space of the buildings. Section BB is to show how's the connection between the modular vertical farming and the corridors. So section CC is basically cut from the residential hostel area. So as you can see, there's a mine space hanging in the middles. So the reason why the fuel cantilevered box has been provided is basically because, for me, everyone has their own issue, so they need a place to cool them out or a place for meditations. So with this boxy space, it allows people to go to temporarily isolated and also have a breaks. This is the view, roughly how the mind space will sit in between the corridors of the hostels. So when it comes to rear elevations, see the levelings of the site and also the existing topo, left elevation and also the right elevations. And from the elevation you can see the vertical farming is acting there, is doing well on the vertical farming structure is doing well on covering or connecting the blocks. So there's a explorer drawing which allowed you to more deeply define the space of the buildings. The sequence of facade assembly, which the section is selected from the elevated garden. So the structure, in terms of structure, is basically a steel which tie into the concrete and create the platform which allowed the people to walk elevated. So there's some montages of the internal corridor towards the classroom. You can see the shadows qualities. There's an SOA, and here comes to my progress, the study sections, the form development of the buildings, the development tools, and also the progression of the little bit sketch on how to study deeply about the vertical farming system and the sketch studies. Okay, that's all. Thank you.